Ever get a question, what apps are best? What's best and what suits you? See a lot of questions and a lot of messages asking what apps do I use to get out on the water regarding weather. What apps do I use on the water? So I'll do top 5. So before we go into my top 5, leave him in the comments your top 5, and we'll see at the end if we're close. And hopefully, while I'm telling you, I might be able to get you a bass or a pollock. I'll be doing it. So, but while you're there, if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe, and does help the channel out. So when I say the best apps, I mean the best apps for you or the best apps for me. I'm not saying these are the best apps you can get and you shouldn't use any other apps. These are just apps that I have used over the years. And I've got a reference. Oh, fish are chasing this. Got a reference to what, like off the shore, like tides, you needed on the upper reaches of the channel, you needed to be accurate. So, yeah. So we'll dive in straight to number 5, as we'll do a countdown. So number 5 first, we're gonna go with tides. I was religious on Smith's tide book for the Bristol Channel because I used to fish marks like Redwick, Sudbrook, Goldcliff, and the peat ledges. They would be surrounded by water. I was always religious with the tide book, and at the time you had Easy Tide, a website, and Tides something, but they were never accurate. But now Tides near me is as accurate on the Newport tidal station, because they take it off there now, as the Smith's tide book. So that's my number 5, and it's always good to know the tides, because the rise and fall of the tide in the Bristol Channel is so big. You don't want to be cut off, or you don't want to be around the ground. So yeah, number 5 is Tides. Tides for me, it's simple to use, it's free, it's got loads of tidal stations all around the UK, loads in the Bristol Channel, and I'll do a compare now to the tide book, and I'll give you a little look at the interface, as I will do with all the rest of the apps. Four, swell. Checking the swell. Now, I'll be honest with you, I used to check it once or twice if I was on a kayak for launching. I do check it now and again if I'm unsure of the conditions where we're going for the beach launch because of the shore dump. But other than that, it's not something I would generally check now. Like today, when I come out, I didn't check the swell. I know a lot of people like flat calm conditions, but I did check the swell just before I done this, and it says it's 0.5 meter every like 7 seconds. So basically, if you can see, it's flat calm. It's nothing. So I know a lot of people like it and are fine weather fishermen or fine weather boaters. They like it to be absolute flat calm. And best website or app for that is Magic Seaweed or Windy. Now I prefer Windy, although Magic Seaweed is the go-to for surfers and kayakers and whatever inshore water sports, but windy offers a lot more in the way of forecast and stuff. So I'm going to put the number 4 as Magic Seaweed stroke windy. It is a decent app, and a lot of people rely on it big time. I gotta be honest, I very rarely use it. I use it if I just want to check a new venue or Atlantic Storm Beach that I'm going to, just, if it's going to be a show dump and the conditions for launching. But basically, when I am afloat, the swell don't bother these boats. So, and I know a lot of people like flat calm conditions. But yeah, so number 4, definitely worth a download, definitely worth putting in your folder for your forecast checkers. And windy stroke Magic Seaweed. Number 3 is another forecast app. So as a lot of us have, we cross-reference every forecast app there is to try and convince ourselves that the weather's going to be good. But for my number 3 is Ventusky app. It's a satellite radar, covers the whole of the world. It offers directional arrows live. So if you're coming from the west, they would be blowing up this way now, up a channel. I'll show you on the app anyway. And you can see where you got shelter. So it's definitely good. And it's live, and you can watch the forecast and the pressure systems coming over the Atlantic to see 14-day forecast. You can get a good idea to what the conditions are going to be like. But it also offers that wind against tide, where a lot of people don't understand. Now, I had a message the other day that someone was going out, the westerly was pretty high, and they didn't understand the wind against tide theory. So it is a good app to describe that on. So if you're looking at the app now and you've got a westerly wind coming up the Bristol Channel and a flooding tide, the tide floods from the west to the east and it ebbs from the east to the west. So if you had a westerly wind and an ebbing tide, you would have wind against tide. Or if you had an easterly wind and a flooding tide, you'd have wind against tide. But it is a good app to look at, and definitely worth a download. Also, it is pretty similar to the Windy app. So if you've got Magic Seaweed or you have got the Windy app, either one of them is good to download, or even both of them, because like I said, we cross-reference every little forecast that we can get to try and convince ourselves of a day out. So yeah, that is number 3, Ventusky. Number 2 is my go-to. To be honest with you, I've got a number of forecast apps like XE, Windy, BBC, a load of them. It's just loads. We cross-reference loads, don't we? So, but this one, the Met Office, I think is my go-to. It's the most accurate app on the market, I think. If a Wednesday it says, if a Monday you're looking at the forecast on the Monday for the weekend and it says it's going to be dodgy, the chances are it's going to be dodgy. To whereas you don't get excited. But if it says there's a possibility, I mean, you can start to get excited, and it is pretty trustworthy. And another thing I've noticed, I don't know how long this feature has been on there. So if you type in your location near the beach where you want to go or on the shore, for instance, Oxwich or Mumbles or Weymouth, you get a drop-down menu for beaches near me. So once you click that, it gives you a list of beaches in that area, and it changes the interface then for your wind direction if you were stood on that beach. So whereas you get in the wind direction before of just a westerly, southwesterly, and it gives you the wind direction if you were stood on the beach. Now, it also offers tides now. I didn't know this until the other day. Offers tides, and they are bang on with Arrowsmiths and tides for me. So you're probably making one redundant, like your number 5 redundant, and going straight for, killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. But also offers a lot of beach safety tips as well for your riptides, your RNLI, and yeah, it is an updated. I think it's an updated interface on there, and definitely my go-to, and definitely worth a download. Fishing is poor, guys. It's very poor. I think I'll have a couple of more casts by here, and I'm going to go back down to Swansea. I've just done a 6-mile stint up there. So my number one, as you're going to know, the number one app for all watercraft or even shore fishermen is Navionics. Without going into too much detail, because if you want to see an additional video to Navionics, I know a lot of people don't get it or don't look into the features as much and don't really know what it offers. But like I said, without going into too much detail, you've got mapping, your standard mapping. You have got all your sonar overlay. You have got your tracking, got your tides for everywhere. So again, it's a go-to. Your flow, and something else they've done as well. If you go to a tidal station like Mumbles, it's by there, over there. When you click on that tidal station and go through the tidal flow, it moves the contours now. Whereas before it was just giving you worst case scenario of like the danger zone where it was at its lowest. It tells you now as you go through the depths of water as you go through the tide, through the day. There's route planner on there, so if you fill in your details of your vessel, your litres per hour, your cruising speed, and you make that route that day, it will calculate smart, like tide conditions, like wind today is 0, tidal flow will be 1.3 knots, and the direction you were going, it'll calculate and tell you how long you'll be, how much fuel you use, and what speed to do, or what speed, your cruising speed. And do you know what I mean? That's awesome for some people, because some people ask a question: will I be able to go so and so on my 11-litre tank with my 8 horsepower 2-stroke? So just do your own little experiment. Go cruising around the bay, turn the app on, track it, track your speed, it tracks everything for you. Go and fill your tank back up, see how much you used, divide your your miles by your hours, and then you can see your hourly rate, your litres per hour. And then you just fill that in, and then you've got it. But not only that, recently, over the last 2-3 years, relief shading, the overlays that Navionics have put on the app is unbelievable. Unbelievable. We used to use them on the Kayak and Navionics app 10 years ago. Yeah, it's been about 8 years, 9 years they've been out, the app, I think. And the new relief shading of late, well, say about the last 3 or 4 years, is a game changer. It absolutely changes the way we find fish and various. Don't change the way I catch fish, but it changes the way and inspires me. But yeah, Navionics, absolutely fantastic app. Definitely worth the subscription charge. I think it's about 35 or £40. But just remember, guys, no matter what app you got, what apps you use, knowing your limits and experience of that area and them conditions is far more valuable than any app. Just remember, have fun, enjoy what you're doing, but make sure you come home every time, and stay safe.